I'm Paul,
I'm Nick.
I'm Mark.
I'm Mike.
and this is the return of the son of the show. Tonight, we're going to do something a little bit different. We're going to talk about a movie that we've wanted to talk about for a while, but some of us took a long time to watch it. Not mentioning any names. It's Godzilla Minus One.
Who calls me from out of the pit?
So, Godzilla Minus One, guys.
I think we should start with the freshest opinion.
Okay.
Way to give away. Give it away.
Fresh.
Yeah. Well, this is the first time I saw it,
hmm
and I was impressed with it. I thought um, it was really interesting plot. How it focused more on the people.
hmm
And I could see some influences, from modern movies like Jurassic Park and um, Jaws, things like that.
hmm
Um, but um, I I thought it made. I mean, like compare it to that one that just came out with King Kong and Godzilla fighting.
hmm
I don't remember what it was called.
The New Empire or something.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
I mean, it has these. It's really focused on the monsters and they're fighting, and there's just no thought whatsoever given to the people, the thousands of people that are getting killed. As these buildings are being,
Did Zack
knocked
Snyder
down.
direct?
Whereas this one, made you really care about the characters.
Yeah.
And that they had something to lose. Yeah,
They had everything to lose.
Yeah.
right.
Mhm.
Yeah, and yeah, I liked it for sure.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. I think it had the most callbacks to the 54 Godzilla with
Mm.
clearly overt, references to nuclear war and
Mhm.
very anti-war um message in the movie. And the poor guy, the poor lead guy, man, talk about, PTSD
Yeah.
over and
Mhm.
over
Yeah.
and over and over again. And so, kind of the horrors of war and the unending war, just when you think everything's peaceful, war comes back again. So, I thought that was great. But I think I know there's been some debates about the budget. They kind of came out that they only had a 10% of the American budget. Now there's some discussion about they actually had more
Yeah.
money than that, but it doesn't matter. Whatever they had, I think for me the greatest scenes were Godzilla in the water and his head rising above. I mean, that's like you don't always get a close-up view of Godzilla in the movies because either in the past it's because of the guy in the suit, or the CGI isn't quite up to what it should be. And so that's my problem with the American movies. There's so much going on. You were kind of like Transformers. You don't really get to see the monsters of the Transformers.
hmm
And so in this one, there's no mistaking his form, him rising, the scales on his back coming up as the atomic energy goes up.
hmm
I thought that was just incredible how they did that, and very grounded special effects.
Yeah.
Everything felt so solid. Those tanks. One of my favorite scenes is when the tanks are firing, because I'm so you're so used to classic toys,
Yeah.
Mhm.
rolling in, and those felt like tanks. There was just like a heft and a weight to the movie.
Yeah.
And we were discussing the fact that the plane that they used in the end was an actual plane they designed at the
hmm
end of World War II. They didn't get to use. It hangs it's in a museum now. And so that attention to detail just was incredible. Where you're right, where the Americans, it's just flashbang.
Mhm.
I mean, I was impressed with, I think, one of them, one of those movies, but uh, this one just, it's so much realer feeling and
Mhm.
just that kind of thing, that groundedness.
That's what struck me. Is of course it wins the Oscar for best visual effects,
Correct.
and just the production design of this movie is incredible.
Mhm.
Just like all the different details, the ramshackle house that he and the lead character and the two lead characters live in, and they're raising the kid in, and how one their bedroom more or less is lit by one single hanging bulb. Just little things like that, and just
Mhm.
everything around the whole village around them. There's that shot early in the movie where he's in the market and that's where the two lead characters meet. There's this brief shot where he's sitting there with a baby and you see these three Japanese prostitutes walk by, dressed like exactly like they would have during like post World War II.
Hmm.
Yeah.
You could tell like they've been hanging out with GIs, they've got Americanized dresses and cigarettes,
Mhm.
and just their attitude as they
Yeah.
walk, and
Yeah.
Mhm.
the level of, I mean, the all the uniforms and like everybody's kind of tattered and tired, and yeah, just the whole look of the thing is incredible. And something I really noticed this time around, and is this also the sound design of this movie is
Mhm.
really good.
Mhm.
And when the guns are going off and Godzilla's roar, of course, but also just like the way they use silence and
Yeah.
Yeah.
it's like it's so well done.
Yeah.
Yeah, because if they didn't have that budget, they knew how to work it. That's
Yeah.
for
Yeah, they
sure.
sure
Yeah.
did. Yeah.
And they knew where to spend it.
Yeah, because wasn't it the last I heard it was 11 million.
Right, right. So there was I don't know, someone did the math, and so of course there has to be criticism, and so
Mhm.
but I think he just accidentally said, in essence, a paltry sum compared to the
Right.
Americanized
Mm.
version. So,
Yeah, which
someone's like, "Well, 10 million, that's not for a Toho movie," and so but comparatively to the American,
yeah. Yeah.
I also like that Godzilla had a I mean, yes, he's a massive monster, but that there was scale to it. What I don't like about the American movies is the monsters are so huge.
Yeah.
It just drives me nuts. It doesn't, and they don't see the sizing doesn't seem to be consistent through those movies. And so this Godzilla, I mean, he felt like he was walking. I mean, the way that they did the ground cracking and shaking
Mhm.
and that sound effect, yeah,
Mhm.
they just made him seem so solid.
That one shot where he's in Ginza and he
Yeah.
steps and you see the whole street buckle.
Yes,
Right.
That's one of my
yes,
favorite shots of the whole
yes,
movie.
that
It's
was
just like
great.
it's so cool they put that detail in.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of detail, they got one of the things that a lot of people were criticizing that I saw was the way he walks, or
Mm.
she, it, whatever it
Yeah.
is, the way it walks.
Yeah.
But the thing is, like, it looks fake, blah blah blah. But the thing of it is the way I looked at it was like this is probably his first time on land
Right.
because for the entire movie, except for in the very beginning, but at least in this form, this is his first time on land.
Yeah.
He's mad enough to come on land now,
And
and he
that's
doesn't
a
look like getting his like walking like a toddler.
yeah, I mean, and that's akin to a lot of aquatic, amphibious animals. They
Hmm.
are more graceful and deadly in the water
Hmm.
than when you get them on land.
Hmm.
And so, yeah, no, and I like that contrast between the whatever he is in the beginning,
Hmm.
the giant lizard,
Some kind of thing.
non-irradiated dinosaur that he is, and he's very different. His movements are quite different,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
I mean, he's probably not used to that body. I mean, you're talking, he's re-radiated and all that. So yeah, I agree with you. I like that though, that because it felt like a classic kind of Universal monster movie where the monster is coming.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Frankenstein monster
Frankenstein monster.
lumbering.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Right.
To me, also, it's the best human plot in
oh
a
yeah,
Godzilla movie, hands down,
yeah,
ever.
yeah.
And it's so much so that like we're sitting in the theaters because we saw it in the theaters, and we're sitting there and watching this drama unfold with the characters and this PTSD and all that, and then suddenly like the music starts and we're like, oh wait, yeah, we're watching a Godzilla movie,
Yeah.
you know. So
Yeah.
it's absolutely compelling. To
Mm.
it could have just been a movie about recovering from war.
Mhm.
Honestly, and it would have been a great movie. I mean, I think it was well acted. I'm not sure if these actors are like brand name actors in Japan or who they are exactly, but my my son did point out though that as soon as the guy with the glasses shows up, he's like, he's the scientist.
Yeah, yeah. Uh-huh. But they made them so round.
Yeah.
Even who I would consider the classic comic relief
Mm-hmm.
Japanese character
Mhm.
is well rounded. You know, he wants to he jokes, but he realizes he was too young to fight in the war. He
Yeah.
wants to. I mean, they've really fleshed him out.
Well,
But he normally just would have been slapstick.
yeah.
Right.
You know.
He to me
Right.
the characters reminded me of the characters in Godzilla Raids Again
Mm-hmm.
because there's a whole thing where like the college slash flight buddies all get back together,
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
and that's kind of what it reminded me of in a weird way.
Hmm.
I mean, I think it's interesting too. A very definite nod because this is what I noticed. This is my second time watching it.
Mhm.
Is the definite the governments aren't doing anything in
Mhm.
this. So the
Yeah.
Americans refuse, the Russians refuse, and the Japanese government to a certain point refuses where they have the civilians come up with the plan.
Mhm.
And so I thought that that was, but I like the fact that there's so many holes in the plan.
Yeah.
Right.
And so
Yeah.
um and it's interesting how they resolve that. So, but the
Mhm.
fact that the people had to come together and fight their war, I thought was interesting.
Yeah.
And just their as you said the human price, the human cost.
Mhm.
So especially in Japan where people were turned into human bombs as
Yeah.
kamikazes. So
Right.
no thought given to that was your honor,
Right.
to do that, to die. And so I just thought that was interesting. I think it'll be interesting to see if they can and will do a sequel, what it
Mhm.
would, if they can preserve that human element again.
Yeah. They're really gonna have to.
Yeah, yeah, because now
Otherwise, it's
the
not
bar
the
is so
same.
high. Yeah, the
Yes.
bar is so high now.
Yeah.
Well, this, I mean, even beyond everything that we've been talking about, it still has all the classic Godzilla bits.
Yes.
Yeah.
With picking up the train.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And as you pointed out, it's not a Godzilla movie. So there's people running
Yeah,
in the
right.
Correct,
streets.
correct.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah, plenty of homages to past.
Mhm.
Yeah, even to King Kong with the train. Yeah, the train.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And so, but I thought interesting and the different ways they did his atomic breath. The
Mhm.
fact that
Yeah.
it is nuclear, it's atomic energy.
Mhm.
I mean, the fact that they modeled it after having a bomb go off and the
Yeah.
city is wiped out. I mean, that's just amazing.
You gotta wonder what was going through his head though, because did he know he could do that, and did he know that was what was going to happen?
Yeah.
Like when he's standing there, just like kind of like looking before he roars, it like clicks in his head. Yeah, I did that. I'm
Mhm.
Godzilla. You
Yeah.
know.
I read somewhere about how, and I think this was kind of their intent, and I don't know if the director or writers have spoken of this, but how, like when he powers the fire breath and the spikes are popping out,
Mhm.
it's like cooling rods being removed from a reactor.
Oh, neat.
And
Yeah,
let's go.
that's cool.
So,
Yeah, that makes sense.
Well, and a definite homage to the Fukuyama disaster with
oh yeah,
because I thought it was interesting because there's so many videos of people trying to. I mean, I know there's a cliche about Japanese people taking photos, films,
Mhm.
but so there were so many people trying to take pictures of that wave coming in, and then we have I love one of my favorite scenes is the reporters on top of the building
Mhm.
who are reporting not. So I mean, like, you're gonna be dead here in about 2
Right.
seconds.
Those were
Yeah,
reporters.
yeah,
boy.
yeah. They
those
were
guys.
really, yeah.
Those guys
They
were
were
reporters.
serious reporters. Yeah.
and across the street, Raymond Burr was recording.
Yeah, he
Right.
was right.
Watching this whole
Yeah.
again, like Noriko's dress
Mm-hmm.
when
Yes.
Mm.
she's getting ready to leave for her job for the first time. It looks so much like the dress that the lead actress wears in the original film.
Mhm.
That I keep thinking that's got to be the same dress or one almost
Correct,
so
correct.
close.
Mm.
And again, just that's right back to the attention to detail
Yeah.
with so many other things. And like you said, the way they fleshed out the four guys in the boat. You know, like all those characters
Yeah.
are so, like you said, they're so fleshed out so well.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And
Didn't have to be, but they
right,
were.
Yeah.
totally,
Yeah.
yes, yep,
And the difference between the two women. So the woman he encounters in the beginning, and then the woman he eventually will marry,
Right.
very different attitudes towards him and the war and life. I mean, kind of piggies back on when we were talking about the pendulum, and we could barely tell the difference between some of the characters. And so here we have a foreign film where you might get confused who's who, but not in this one. This one, every person is distinct. And even the mechanic. Talk about a great.
Yeah.
I mean, talk about character development. That mechanic, that was amazing as well. But yes, just a great movie all around.
I also watching it again. This is probably I think this is the third time I've seen it. I love how they did a riff on the oxygen destroyer.
Yes,
yes,
yes.
correct,
So they did
correct.
this, like this whole civilian riff on that's like so it's not the same thing, but it's kind of the same thing.
Correct.
And I love that.
And the homage to the skeleton of Godzilla becoming, growing back.
Right.
Not spoilers in the end.
Right. Yeah.
So, but yeah, that was a nice homage as well.
Yeah, we immediately thought Oxygen Destroyer.
Yeah.
In the theater, we're just like,
Yeah.
well, this is kind of cool. This is a much better, it makes more sense than just redoing the Oxygen Destroyer.
Correct.
And I don't know if the scene of the train scene where he's coming against the bridge, and that's like another one of my favorite shots in the whole movie is Noriko looking at the train and Godzilla's reflected on the glass. And she's watching him. Like just love that shot.
Yeah.
But the scene where you see the train going, it's either a miniature or looks so much like a miniature. I love it. I love that I love that I can't tell if it's a miniature or not.
Yeah.
There's part of me that hopes it's a miniature and they actually did some of the old Toho stuff. Or just the fact that they did a CGI train, but hey, let's make it look
like
an old Toho train.
Right.
I just love that.
I also love there's a point in the movie, because we're watching a second time, you're kind of in and out, but there was a great part for you, I think, and it made me realize how much I liked it when things just come flying across the screen before Godzilla comes. So there was a scene where the boat comes flying. You're like, wow! And so and where the train cars and the trucks are landing. That was great too. That was different. That was different than things that we've seen before.
Like, this is what I think of your speaker.
Yeah.
I like the scene where Godzilla is just moseying around and stepping on stuff. And there's like a farmhouse or something, and you hear the dog barking. He just smashes the house. And for some reason, that made it seem more.
At least you didn't get the yipe.
Yeah. So I guess I was reading about creating the roar. They were they wanted to capture the classic roar, but they wanted it to fit the soundscape, and so the sound engineer ended up running it through at a stadium. And so apparently they woke up the whole neighborhood playing it in the stadium.
Oh, wow.
They did the roar to capture that sound.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah. So So there are lots of complaints about the roar. But they just captured that roar.
And the fact that they use classic Godzilla movie music and another score for this movie, and they're very different music styles, but they still manage to blend together somehow.
Yeah, I think it's just a very high production value. That's like you said, that's the best part of the movie, is the production and the human story. So they did both. That's the complaint we tend to have about modern superhero movies and Star Wars movies, is that they miss one or the other.
Yeah.
They get one right, but they don't get the other right. And this one just, seamless.
Yep.
All the way through.
Yeah. It's like they put all their eggs and they put their whole ass into this. They left nothing to chance. They left nothing out. They did everything they could to make the most movie they possibly could.
Well, and I also read, because I did some reading on this, so it was interrupted by COVID. So he had like an additional 2 years to put everything together. So they knew they could make a Toho movie in 2020. So the licensing was with Legendary. But in 2020, Toho was finally allowed to make one, and then COVID hit. And so he actually ended up with like 2 or 3 years to develop And they let him do it. They gave him those years
Well, it
to develop the
shows.
movie. And it does. Yes, it sure does.
Yeah. It
So,
wouldn't have been as good if Godzilla had to wear a mask.
no, that wouldn't have been good. Yeah. I mean, I like of the American version, I like the mythos that they've created, the Hollow Earth and all of that. And I
Yeah.
think it's interesting that,
Yeah.
that they've captured sort of the later Godzilla feel where they're mystical beasts with protection and attacking. I mean, because I like that era of Godzilla as well. So I do like that, but it's kind of it's just it's not the same. It's
No. No. But this is definitely a absolute monster movie.
Oh yeah,
It's just it's so it's so good.
yeah.
Have either of you seen the black and white version?
I don't think it's available yet, or when the Blu-ray comes out. It's
I've heard when it comes Blu-ray's gonna have it.
Cool.
I plan on buying that because I want to see it. I remember sitting in the theater going, the only thing that made this movie cooler is if it was black and white. And then they're gonna put it in black and white on the Blu-ray. Yes,
Yeah.
I'm not the only one that thought that.
Mm.
I made a comment about that on a TikTok somebody had posted, and somebody was like, "Well, you can just adjust the settings on your TV." That's not the point.
Right.
No.
I want it in black and white.
Yeah.
I also want a grainy filter on it, but we can't
Well,
always
and
get
my
what we
guess is when they do that, if it's the same production team, it'll be high quality.
want.
They will pay attention. I guess too, another thing, and um, we watched it in Japanese with
Mhm.
subtitles, but apparently, uh, the American reviews of the dubbing, apparently they paid a lot of attention to the dubbing as well.
Yeah.
So the actors and the words that they use, from what I've read of the critics, said it really captures the Japanese feel of the movie. So
Yeah.
you're not going to get I'll be interested. I might watch it dubbed
Oh,
once just to
I
see.
plan on it. I just
Yeah.
haven't built up the
Yeah,
courage yet.
yeah.
to
No,
watch
from
it
what
in
I
that
from
way.
what I hear, it's fantastic. From what I hear.
Mm.
So again, just high quality. I think this is an example of, we're all getting fatigued by them redoing things. Like,
Mhm.
what's the one, Enemy Mine, or what was that movie from the 80s, where the astronaut and the alien become friends?
Yeah.
Something like that. Now they're going to remake that, apparently.
Right.
And so, which I was like, why? Why
Right.
bother? And so this is an example of, if you have a good story and a good team,
Mhm.
you can do a remake or adding to a series.
Mhm.
Because there's just been a lot of that not working lately.
Right. Yeah.
I'm
Looking
looking
at
at
you,
you. I'm
Fall
looking at
Guy.
you. Yeah, or other. Yeah, everything else they remake. Um, this it can't be done well.
Mhm. And now we come to the part of the show Mike enjoys the most.
Oh.
The surprise lightning round question. Now, sometimes I ask the guys before we do this so they can think about the question, but I didn't want to tonight because I wanted Mike to pay attention to the movie.
Oh,
Uh, no, but my question is, what other kaiju would you like to see get the -1 treatment?
Easy.
What do you got?
Gamma.
Okay.
Gamma +4, whatever you want to call it. Gamma. But somehow capture the Gamma as friend to children, but in a realistic, grounded way.
Yeah.
That, if they could pull that off, that would be amazing.
Yeah. Camera would be great.
Yeah.
all right. I guess like kind of speaking of like an interesting way to kind of go riffing on your thing about it would be cool to see a grounded version of Gamera somehow being a friend of children everywhere. That would be really cool.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go with a grounded like I guess would we call it like an eco monster movie, but like a grounded Mothra movie.
Mm.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
With,
very much so.
with just like the whole she's almost she's practically like a nature goddess.
Correct.
I mean, really,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and just like this whole riff on man, why didn't they do Mothra versus the smog monster for that matter?
Mhm.
Come on,
Right. Sure.
something. But yes,
Yeah.
like a grounded Mothra would be
Mhm.
pretty cool.
It's your turn, Mike.
Well, I mean, it's not really a kaiju, I guess. It's not a Japanese movie, but I'd like to see a King Kong movie, kind of like this.
Yeah. Yeah. As
Sure.
fun as the Peter Jackson one was.
Yeah. Oh, Peter Jackson one was kind of tiresome.
Yeah.
Is that the one with Jack Black?
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, it's a
I-
fun movie, but
yeah.
that's about it.
I like but watching King Kong fight a Tyrannosaurus Rex for a half an hour.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
There were good parts to it, yeah, definitely. But
Mhm.
they could have cut it short,
Yeah.
but
And
Um,
maybe that would look like for me, which is still one of my favorites, is the 76 King Kong, which had the human story
Man, that
and the
movie
Echo
doesn't get
story.
enough love.
Yeah,
does
it
not.
does not. And that's,
Absolutely does not.
yeah,
mhm.
that would be, I would love to see something like that.
Also, I have a question.
Hmm.
What does the -1 mean?
So, sorry,
No, go ahead.
so the minus one, there's two ongoing. So the creators said that World War the aftermath of World War II and Japan rebuilding was Japan at zero.
Mm,
So they're at zero, and now they're working their way back to building their country again.
mm.
And Godzilla comes, takes it away, and knocks it down to -1.
Yeah.
And so that's so the war brings it to zero. That they're starting just as they start getting over, they get
Mhm.
knocked back down to -1. And then the other reason was because technically this would be a prequel to the 54 Godzilla.
Mhm.
So it'd be -1. If that's Godzilla 1,
Yeah.
this is Godzilla, or is Godzilla 0, this is Godzilla -1.
Oh,
Yeah.
So I've heard both.
I like the first one better.
I like the first one better as well.
It
Yeah.
makes more sense.
Yeah. And so that's that.
It's minus Raymond Burr, so it's minus.
That's
Yeah.
true. Yes. Minus the
yeah.
one.
If only they could have had
Yeah.
Raymond Burr in there
Yeah.
smoking a cigarette. in the
Right.
background.
Well, I was gonna suggest more of the gargantulas, but the words got stuck in my throat.
Mm,
So I'm gonna go with Mothra. I think
Yeah.
your idea sounds great.
Hmm.
I don't care what Mothra, just Mothra. But I like your plot better. So
Mhm. I think another one that I would love to see remade would be because it talk about a human story would be Spectre Man. Let's have
Mhm.
let's have a Spectre Man movie.
that recent Ultraman,
Yes.
have you seen it?
I've seen yeah. And,
It's
yeah.
it's so good.
Yeah.
I
I would love to see that done to Spectre Man.
yeah.
Space Giants.
Yes.
You know,
And make it make total sense.
Mhm.
Although part of the joy of Space Giants is just how
How crap
batshit
crazy
crazy
it
it
is.
is. Yeah.
yeah, that's true.
Yeah. It really is crazy.
But they're just going to have to be very careful about who they pick for Gan.
True.
Yeah.
Yes.
I was just thinking, seeing like remakes and everything being remade again, with Godzilla, being so popular again. I'm a bit surprised no one's remade Q the Winged Serpent by now.
Mm,
Really?
Mm.
Yeah, right.
I mean, that's just sitting there.
right.
And I mean, you've got a giant lizard flying monster in New York. It's just kind of like why no one's remade that.
Mm.
I mean, not that it needs remade, but
Right.
I'm a bit surprised no one's.
Isn't that also a De Laurentiis movie? Because I know King Kong was.
I don't think it was.
Not sure.
I could be mistaken.
I can't remember who directed that off the top of my head.
Anybody got anything else? Or
Well, if in the comments, if you watch Svengoolie tonight, let us know how.
yeah, let us know how Sven went. We got about halfway through. And we're like, let's watch Godzilla.
I guess there was more drinking.
Yeah, probably.
Yes.
Probably.
Yeah, a lot of drinking. Yes,
So each
yes.
woman, yeah.
Yeah, no kidding. What was it? What was it I called it? The reefer madness of booze.
Yes, yes, yes.
Totally.
Yeah.
It's like people had never taken a drink before wrote this script.
Mhm.
But anyway, let us know down below if you liked -1, if you hated it, and what kaiju movie would you like to see get the treatment. While you're down there, don't forget to do all the YouTube things: like, comment, subscribe, hit that little bell icon so you don't miss any videos. I guess there's an all button now you gotta find. I haven't looked for it yet because I watch YouTube on TV.
For the notifications?
Yeah, for the
Yeah,
notifications.
if you click on the bell, it now has an all, so you can get all notifications.
Yeah,
So,
as opposed to just one or two here or there.
why
So
you
that-
would ever pick one or two?
Yeah, I
only
don't
want I only want to see every third video these guys produce.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. So yeah, that having been said, it's like in the beginning, I'm Paul,
I'm Nick.
I'm Mark.
I'm like,
and this has been the return of the son of the show.
Spectre Man! Spectre Man! Hear the flash like a flame, faster than a plane. A mystery with the name Spectre Man!